Welcome to the Sko Show from Mile High Sports. I'm live right from the Mile High Sports studio at number 38 in RiNo. More on that in a bit, presented by our friends at Boulder Sports and the Vimos app. I'm Sean Drotar. Peyton Kraft is with me. Peyton, obviously, this is an enormous game for the Buffaloes. We had an opportunity to talk about it in the last Sko Show because for the Buffs, that it's a chance to get back to 500. And it's funny when we look at this team because they have had scenarios in which in their last two losses, they had 14-0 wins. So we're going to really find out, are the Buffs actually sneaky good and just don't know how to close yet? Or is it something different? And it feels like this is one of those games where the rubber's going to hit the road.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting at 3-4, a win, you're in bowl contention. It's a loss. And well, then we start talking about who we're going to play as quarterback for the next 3-4 games. But right now, this is the big game. Again, Utah is ranked, but we beat a ranked team, Iowa State, 2 weeks ago. So it's not unheard of to beat a ranked team for CU. And like you said, we've been getting 14-point leads in the beginning. BYU, it's possible. Again, Utah is not an easy team to beat, especially on the road. Sean will hit on that in a little bit. Not an easy win, especially for homecoming weekend. But as for injuries, we were talking about this last week. We're kind of starting to see some players come back. Still long list of players that are still not active, but you have Draylon Miller, you have receivers, Isaiah Hardage, Terrell Timmons, and then defensive end Arden Walker. They all missed that game against Iowa State.
Right.
They were not listed on that injury report on Wednesday, so still things could change, but we're seeing some names back that the Buffs are going to need to get this win.
Yeah, more than about anything else, I think Buffs fans should have been looking at in this bye week was the idea that they could get somebody back from injury or at least get closer to it, right? And not have to miss another game. So all of that's a good sign. They will need it. Obviously, Utah is a very tough team. Sko Show is brought to you by our friends at Peckish. 2 locations in Boulder. You probably already know that one. The new one just a few steps down the road on the hill, but 3 times the size. Everything you'll still love about Peckish, and you haven't been up to Boulder and gotten that Peckish experience, if you're down south, you can do that right in the Denver Tech Center, I-25 in Bellevue, just kind of a little hop, skip, and jump west off the highway, and you can be at Peckish enjoying the wings, enjoying the pizza, enjoying the beer, enjoying all of those things that they have over at Peckish. All of it's so good. I end up going there probably, now it's about once a week, honestly. Make sure I check it out because I want to catch a game, and I want to make sure I want to get me some wings. Our own Nate Lundy is there on Thursdays. He hosts things with Thursday Night Football, doing a lot with Peckish. We're so excited to be a partner with them. And if you haven't found an opportunity to get there in Boulder, make sure you check out that location in the Denver Tech Center, peckishco.com for all of the latest. Well, let's dig into this game in particular, Peyton. It is not going to be an easy one, no matter how you slice it, how you look at the metrics. Utah is ranked. You're right. I mean, all you have to do is go look at the top 10 last week in college football. Beating a ranked team isn't necessarily a big deal at all anymore. The NIL world has created a bit of parity here where now, because the talent basically moves to where it can play, the idea that for a long time that some kid would go to Notre Dame and sit for 3 years because when he's a senior they could play and get on TV. You don't have to do that anymore because the TV finds you everywhere. So talent is getting spread out, and I think that's really healthy for college football. For the Buffs in this game, it also gives them a puncher's chance against Utah because obviously it's a tough place to play. Rice Eccles is as hard as it is in college football. It doesn't get the reputation of Death Valley or the Swamp or a lot of the known places in college football, but it's a tough place to play. In this game, the Buffs have an opportunity to get a little better on offense. That's got to be where the growth comes from, is on that offensive side. They need to get better at defense as well. But this is a game in which the Buffs are going to have to generate points, and they're going to have to generate them consistently. And Peyton, they're going to have to do so against a defense that lets people know when you watch a Utah game, oh, that's why they're ranked. Top 30 defense by virtually every metric you can imagine. This is a team that stops people.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Utah's ranked among the top 12 teams in the country in efficiency and points allowed, averaging 15.3 points for the opponent. So it's going to be a game where you need to score quickly, and CU has been good at that. The problems with CU has been the second half and maintaining that lead. But you got to put points on the board. And Caden Salter is a dual threat quarterback, and we'll hit on this. But Utah has struggled against running quarterbacks. So I think for the Buffs, the answer to win this game is going to be running the ball and wasting clock. I think that's how you're going to get that win on the road. But again, you got to score. And that's the main thing. If you can't score, your defense can only hold them for so long.
It'll be interesting to see what the Buffs call, because obviously, Caden Salter at the beginning of the year, the Buffs looked at replacing him. They did replace him with Ryan Staub for a game. They had a game in which they played Salter, Staub, and Julian Lewis. So there is a reasonable expectation that maybe they don't entirely trust Caden Salter yet, but he has been better since the benching for Staub. He's been more consistent. He's looked more loose. This feels like one of those games that if the Buffs are going to win it, they're just going to have a little bit of faith in their quarterback to get out there on designed runs and create, because you're right. Passing yards per game. And remember, Utah's had a lead in most of their games, right? So that's where you tend to see teams allow more passing yards because they're ahead and teams are throwing the ball. Utah allows 155 passing yards a game. 155. You are not, if you're going to try to beat them through the air, you're going to have a really long day. But on the ground, we talked about virtually every metric, top 30. They don't allow a lot of points per game, but rushing, they're allowing 151 per game. And a lot of it, surprisingly, something you pointed out before, happens to be allowing runs to quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer. The best thing about Caden Salter, and he has that ability to both throw and run. And I think against Utah, and we've talked about this before, time management. That is also how you're going to let this team score. And Utah against BYU, they lost against BYU last week. It was just the second time this season they have finished under 50% on third down conversions. They're a team that runs the clock out, that can just drag out play after play. And for CU, they're going to need to be able on defense to stop them on third down, get on the field, and then waste clock on their own while still putting up points.
Yeah, you want to minimize the possessions, obviously, for Utah, that they can score. Obviously, the Buffs defense is continuing to improve, but it's not a showstopper. We understand that. They kind of have to make do. But yeah, when you get into even some of the advanced metrics, and yeah, well, I'm going to get super dorky here, so I'm glad we're talking to a college audience. You should be educated and know, everybody. But expected points added is a metric that basically they take everything you do and suggest that, if you do this, this is what it would add up to over the course of the game. The bigger number is good. Negative numbers are bad. The only negative number I could find on Utah's defense is the fact that they are negative in EPA on quarterback designed runs. So not really scrambles, but designed runs, that they have a tough time stopping the quarterback. If you've been watching the Buffs this year, you understand that that's also something the Buffs have trouble with. Quarterbacks have gotten loose many, many times this year, including guys that don't even run, like Connor Wiegman of Houston goes out and gets his career high in yards before halftime. But this really is the moment. It feels like if the Buffs are going to get things done through the air, you're going to have to trust Salter to create. You're going to have to give him the runs. You're going to have to give him the RPOs. You're going to have to let him roll out. And maybe as you see him send some guys deeper down the field and make a play that way. But this is going to be a game in which Caden Salter, you got him. You've been coaching him up. This is really the game where everything that he can do, you need him to do. I don't know if he's up for the moment. We'll find out. But I have a tough time thinking, Peyton, that they can win this game unless they're willing to simply trust him and let it fly.
Right. And as Buffs fans in general, I think it's going to take a little bit to let this game play out. I have it being a lower scoring game in the first half for the Buffs, just because I want Caden Salter to start to get comfortable, throw the ball again. We've seen him miss some passes that should have been caught and should have been thrown on point. But I think they need to let him develop during the game. And hopefully we're a second half team. When they come out in the second half, then you're starting to see it click. Luckily for them, though, Draylon Miller should be back. So for running back and for running the ball, that should help them. So Caden Salter isn't the only one running, passing. You're going to kind of spread out the talent there.
Yeah, the other advantage is Utah is allowing it's a reasonably respectable third down number, 37% on third and fourth down conversions. But the Buffs, actually, when you look at their offense, they are one of the better teams in the country. They hit that at about 46%. So the Buffaloes on those third and fourth down, late downs, maybe even if they have to go for it on fourth downs here and there, especially those fourth and shorts, right? 4th 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, where your quarterback can run and you can create a little bit. Utah may actually be a little bit vulnerable there. They have allowed those late down down successes for the Buffs. Maybe this is an opportunity to be aggressive on some of those fourth downs and make sure that you keep the ball. You're going to have to, I think, gamble a little bit in order to win this game. And that's, I think, the part that I am the most nervous about and also the most excited to watch. I want to see if they're willing to go all in on this and say, you know what? Let's just go out there, play loose, play free, trust our quarterback, and let's see what happens. I don't think they've done that too often this season, but I don't think they can win without it. And the point you make about being a second half team, boy, so much of that is a big part of this because you have to find a way to close. You have to find a way when you get a lead. Look, you don't want to be one of those teams that can't stand success. When you get it, you want to build on it. And whatever you were doing, that's one of the things that I'd like to see as well, because whatever the Buffs were doing offensively to get those leads, I don't want them to go away from it. Sometimes there's this temptation to open it up and send the ball down the field like Shooter Sanders and Travis Hunter were still there, that they're not. What I'd like to see this team do is if they're getting successful on the ground game, if they're scoring, if they're doing that, don't go away from it. Make Utah stop you before you make a change. Dictate the pace of this game, like you were talking about. Go ahead and take the clock. Reduce the number of possessions in the game in which Utah can hurt you. I want CU to do that by putting their stamp on the game, and when they're successful at something, keep doing it until and unless Utah stops it. Don't stop yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we've seen CU have success in that first half and then not switch it when something goes wrong. And that's kind of been a problem with CU, is not being able to adapt to what the other offense and defense have been able to adapt to. And I'm a big proponent of when you're underdogs on the road, I want to see them be aggressive, going for it on fourth and short, because you're an underdog. What do you have to lose? Again, Utah, it's a big game for them. If you're not aggressive, eventually Utah is a good enough team that can pull ahead. So you have to be aggressive from the start, not at the end of the game, not when you're down by 14. Oh, let's go for it now. I want to see them be aggressive through the entire game. And yes, control the clock. That's the main thing for me, I think, in this game. Control the clock, be aggressive, and hopefully see you win on the road, which is hard to come by when you are in Utah.
It is. And you have to be careful with the ball. Obviously, at every football game, you can't really expect to lose a turnover battle, but you have to be really, I think, cognizant of it here because Utah doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So their quarterback, Dampier, has 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. It's worth noting that 2 of those interceptions, none of the touchdowns were in their loss to Texas Tech. So, you take that game away. This is a guy that has 13 touchdown passes to 2 picks. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes, even though the Buffs secondary has some opportunistic guys when you're talking about Hodge and you're talking about DJ McKinney, of course. You've had a chance to talk with Ben Finiseth, the safety. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, Peyton's conversation with Finiseth or Alejandro Mata, make sure that you check it right here on this channel. But if you're the Buffs, you can't assume that you're going to be able to turn Utah over very often, which means for the Buffs offense, even though you have to try to play loose, you can't be careless. And so it's a thin line you have to walk, and you can't maneuver it very much. So it is such a statement game for the Buffs, because if they do all that, if they were to win this, yeah, everything is in front of them with the bowl. But I also wonder how much more will we learn about this team, and could a really good finish be in the offing if they can get this one on the road, because their confidence should be sky high. They'd be beating 2 ranked teams in a row.
Yeah, no, it should be beating 2 ranked teams. And then again, you're now looking at the potential of a bowl game. You're playing Arizona, West Virginia, teams that are not ranked, that you also have a chance. But Utah, this is kind of the game that matters. Again, you're 3-4. You go 4-4, back to .500. You go 3-5. It's getting a little difficult, especially because you still have to play ASU. Again, it's at home, but ASU is not a team to just walk past. So I think this is a really big game for them. But like you said, for them, this game, especially on the road, they have players out still. They have players returning, but Caden Salter has gotten better on that turnover. He didn't have any turnovers to the game to Iowa State. They're coming off a bye week. They're healthier. Hopefully we can just see a full 60 minutes, and then, yeah, we'll see. But as for Utah's defense, they're going to be able to stop you. It's not going to be a high scoring game, I don't think, for CU. It's going to be, can you get enough points? Can you get above that 14-point mark to stay ahead?
Yeah, we're going to hear a lot about Devon Dampier in this game. Obviously, not only as the quarterback talked about, he's careful with the ball. He's been effective. He's also their leading rusher. He's got 5 touchdowns on the ground. As we mentioned, that's been a vulnerability for the Buffs defense. If you know you're not going to be able to get the ball, maybe you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to gamble too much because this is a guy that will take off and run, and he has a lot of quarterback designed runs too. How do the Buffs getting Arden Walker back will help? Getting some strength in the injury will help. But how when you look at the way the Buffs have dealt with this with quarterbacks, they have to find a way to be a lot more cognizant of this because Devon Dampier is going to put up yards on the ground and in the air. He can do both. He does not get sacked often. He's only been sacked 6 times. So for the Buffs, it feels to me like you don't want to it's great to get sacks, but as we'll say, all the time in football, sacks cause punts, turnovers cause points. And in this case, you're not going to get a lot of turnovers and you're not going to get a lot of sacks on this guy. So for the Buffs, it feels as if maybe you have to be aware in the early going. You maybe want to contain, you maybe want to mush rush, you maybe want to make sure you don't let him get outside on the edges. But that isn't when their Buffs have gotten hurt. They've been hurt when quarterbacks have either been on a quarterback draw or they've tucked it and scramble and they've come right up the middle. That's what we've seen the problem with.
Yeah, I mean, Utah's averaging 150 yards rushing per game against its opponents. So they can run, they can throw. I think for the defense, and for offense, I want them to be aggressive. I want them to go for it. For defense, I want them to play a little safer. I don't want them just trying to get that sack on the quarterback, trying to intercept the ball. I want them to play safe, see the field better, because I think that's how you're going to win this game. Because I don't think you're going to be able to get to that quarterback, and I don't think that the quarterback's smart enough to not throw the interceptions we've seen. So for defense, play smart. For offense, play aggressive.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because you're right. Dampier is careful with the ball, and if the play is not safe, he knows he can make things happen with his legs. The Utes have rushed for 20 touchdowns as a team. They definitely can get it done. Well, obviously it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be an opportunity for the Buffs to make a big statement in this. And it's going to be, as usual, prime time, that 8:15 kick, national television. And if you're thinking, boy, this big a game for the Buffs, the biggest game they've had all season, where are you looking to see it? What are you thinking of doing? Are you going to get outside and be with fellow Buffs fans? Well, we've got your place. I'm sitting in it right here because the My Life Sports Studio is at number 38 in RiNo. We broadcast live from there every single weekday. And by the way, if you haven't come out, it's about the best place to watch sports in Colorado. They literally have a jumbotron, like the kind you see at the stadium, in their beautiful back porch. It's dog friendly, holds 800 people. You got a lot going there. You got all the TVs inside, so much to do and enjoy at number 38. And of course, you can meet the one and only Peyton Kraft because Peyton, you are the host for our Buffaloes watch parties at number 38. How's that gone this season? And for people who haven't come out, what would they expect on a big game on a Saturday night?
Yeah, well, it's always packed. Again, number 38 is an amazing sports bar. So you always have people there. You have both inside and outside. And we've given away some pretty fun stuff. We gave away tickets to the Iowa State game. We gave away tickets to the ASU game that is coming up in November. So lots of fun prizes. Breckenridge Brewery is there. High Noon, they do samples. You can get deals on beer. So you can drink, you can eat food, amazing food, great pizza too. I know Peckish has amazing pizza. So does number 38. So super fun. Again, if it's cold out, do not worry. The inside is just as big as the outside. You can reserve tables, little couches with their own personal TV, so you can switch back and forth games you're wanting to watch. But the CU Buffs is on every TV and especially on the big screen. So if you're a Buff fan or just a football fan, you got to come out and you can win some fun prizes.
Yeah, and of course they actually have space heaters all outside too. So if it's not freezing and it's not supposed to be, you can still be out the whole evening. So it's going to be a tremendous scene, a lot of fun. If you haven't come out and had a chance to catch one of the watch parties for the game, make sure you do. If you can't, catch it in person. If you're not going to Salt Lake City, the best place to go is going to be right here at number 38. Peyton is going to host that watch party and hold things down. We got prizes, got a lot of fun, and of course everything that 38 has to offer. And you get to the best part. You get to be with a whole bunch of Buffs fans. So, if it's a win, you get to celebrate. If it's a loss, and we hope it's not, well, you get to commiserate. And everyone's on the same page. Look, when you're down as a fan, it's better not to do it alone, right? I mean,
Right.
if everyone, misery loves company. So hopefully this goes well for the Buffs. But if it doesn't, don't sit in your place by yourself, sad in front of your TV. Come on out here, enjoy everything it has to offer, and sit with a bunch of Buffs fans who will be with you either way. So that is going to be a tremendous amount of fun. It's obviously a big road for the Buffs. They've won the last game against Utah, but as we talked about it before, since this series has restarted in 2011, the Buffs are 3-8, and they've lost all 6 on the road. Now, the beauty of that and the beauty of college football is the guys who lost that game, they're not there. I mean, this is basically a new team. It's a new everything. So that those numbers to a certain extent don't actually mean anything. They're just for perspective because they don't have it. You hear it a lot coming to this game, but I like reminding fans that doesn't have an impact on this game. None of that matters for this game. This is its own thing.
Yeah, like with the transfer portal and NIL, it's no longer a stat I pay a lot of attention to just because the team's new every year. Utah's team is new. CU's team is new. Yes, we've struggled on the road against Utah. It's completely different players. So I get, that's a big deal. It's history of Buffs versus Utah, but it's a new team. Lots of things can happen. And we saw it last week. There's lots of upsets that have been happening in that top 25. So nothing's impossible now with the transfer portal and new teams every year. And one of the things I did want to bring up is potentially you might see some new uniforms from the Buffs. It was teased a little bit by my Martavius French. Again, post has been deleted. You didn't see a lot of the uniform, but there's a little bit of speculation that the Buffs are going to come out in some new uniforms. So that could bring some hype, some excitement to that crowd on the road that are Buffs fans there.
Well, I mean, Dish, do tell. What did you see? What might we be looking at?
It was just a photo. Again, the linebacker Martavius French posted it on Instagram, just a story. It was deleted pretty soon. Some gold cleats, some white and black. Again, couldn't see much, but fans got in a frenzy about it, of course, that there could be some new combos out. And I was talking to Mata about this in our last interview, how he was excited about the potential uniform. He kind of took a step back, said, oh, it's just a uniform I've seen on Madden. But I have a feeling we might see something special from the Buffs. So stay tuned for that one. We'll definitely post about it if we see it.
Yeah, Deion Sanders certainly knows what to do when the bright lights are on. That's definitely in his area. It is an important game for the Buffs, not only for this season, but it's an important game for the Buffs going forward. So many of their kickoffs for the rest of the season are TBD, and they're TBD for this exact reason. If the Buffs are still compelling, they've been on national TV every game, all of last season, all of this season. So when you talk about keeping those eyeballs here, even in a potential loss, the larger viewpoint for the program, it is important to be in this game because if the Buffs are still compelling, they lost in a single score game to Georgia Tech. They lost that way to BYU, got away from it with TCU and Houston, but you have an opportunity here to continue to forward that Colorado Buffalo brand, and the uniforms help, and the primetime television slot helps, but you have to continue to perform. And the Buffs, with some of their kickoffs being TBD, still indicates the national media really, they want them. They want Colorado. All Colorado has to do is stay compelling, and they will always have Deion Sanders. They understand that. They'll always have everything that Boulder provides. It's always such a scenic place to shoot games. But even in a loss, the Buffs program can still gain something positive out of it if they're in the game, because it's probably likely means another national television appearance, putting yourselves in front of millions of people. A lot of those are students, or a lot of those are parents who would like to see their kid in Boulder. So there is the smaller battle, and there is the larger battle. There is this season, and there is the program. That makes this game one of the biggest in a long time. There's a lot on the line.
Yeah, there is, especially because you're playing Arizona next week, which also is not a ranked team. They've been close in games too. Again, they were close against BYU, ended up losing, close against Houston, ended up losing. But next week's game at home is one of those potential games that just media, national coverage does not pick up because it's not two ranked teams. Again, you do play ASU. You'll probably see that. But if they can hang in there with Utah, if they can hang, and then Arizona's on a bye week this week. So there's really nothing for them to sway if they're going to be on national television next week. It's all on CU. If they can hang in, if they can even be up a little bit in that first half, hopefully up at the end of the game, I think you will see more national media coverage through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean it is a challenge and it's an opportunity. The same this in the same thing. It's obviously they are considered long shots to win, but that's why
Crazier
they
things
play
have
the
happened.
games, to borrow a coach's a famous phrase. And if you have a chance to check it out before the game, after the game, of course, we have two terrific places that we're working with. I'm right here at number 38, and of course our great friends at Peckish there in the corner there for a reason. Preferred dining partner of CU Athletics. That's obviously a big deal for them. It's a big deal for the Buffs. The Buffs have been there. Deion Sanders has been there. Shador, Travis, the Buffs eat there. Of course, we talked about, if you haven't had a chance to check out Peyton's interviews with Ben Finiseth and Alejandro Mata, both of them at the Peckish up in Boulder. We were up there not too long ago ourselves, putting some things together, all right here on this channel. So make sure you go, if you missed those, go check them out. Really great. And Peyton really, those were really fascinating interviews for me, because they're less about the game, the season. They're more about the player, the person, the kind of person that comes to Boulder to play for Deion Sanders. And that's fascinating. It doesn't necessarily have to do with a week-to-week thing. You get a sense for how the program functions in a lot of ways too. And that was the through line that I saw in both of your interviews with Finiseth and Mata. It was understanding kind of how the Buffs program works and the kind of people, not necessarily players, that they're trying to add.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. It's not to talk about football. I want the fans, you guys, to get to know these players more on a personal level, how they've grown up, what they did before they were at football, like Alejandro Mata played soccer before football. And one of the things that both of them said in a little bit of a different ways, when they came to CU, they didn't feel like Coach Prime and the coaching staff was just trying to change them, create that kind of robotic football player that we always see. They adapt around the player. And we've seen that also with Charlie Offerdahl, who then ended up, no longer doing football, pursuing dentistry, but how he's helping these players, these athletes get to where they're going with life after football. And that's what these interviews are about. It's about their life. They're real people. People forget, with all the money and NIL and all this game's a big deal. And we know it's a big deal, but they're still 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds just trying to get through college. And Coach Prime has emphasized they're still a student athlete, and he's putting that focus on the student part. And that's what I love talking about these athletes about, is just about their life. What's life like outside of football? Because everybody has it. Everybody has a story. So I like bringing that to the fans, just so you guys can see them when they're not on national television on a game on Saturday night.
I love that, because the GPA has gone up since Deion Sanders took over. It's been a focus. He wants to make sure that these people are student athletes. He wants to make sure that these kids also understand they're trying to get them to the NFL. You work with Marshall Faulk and Warren Sapp and so much NFL experience on their team. They're trying to get guys to play from Saturday to play on Sundays, but they also understand the reality is the vast majority of college football players, and I mean 90% plus, will never play in the pros. And so making sure your college experience, you're getting the most out of it to set you up in life with whatever it is you're going to do, is valuable. And that's one of the reasons I think to be proud of the program. Come on out and show that Buffs pride out at number 38 on Saturday night. Kickoff at 8:15. Come say hi to Peyton. She's going to host the watch party for us at Mile High Sports like she does. And it's a terrific scene. If you haven't been out, you are missing out. You want to come out and check this one out on Saturday night for the biggest Buffs game this year. Also want to thank, of course, our great sponsors at Peckish up in Boulder. The new location there, 3 times as big as the other, but still right there on the hill. You'll be able to find it. If you knew where it was, just a couple steps down, you're right there. But if you haven't had a chance to be up in Boulder, come check out the DTC location, I-25 in Bellevue. All of the same wings, the sauces, you get the tenders tossed in those sauces too, in case you're going that route. The pizzas are homemade, their own recipe on the pizza crust. And of course, everything you expect at Peckish. At the one down at the Tech Center, they have a wall of LED TVs that can be one giant screen, which they will be for the Buffs. But in situations now where the lot's going on, you might have the Avalanche, you might have the Nuggets, you might have the Buffs, you might have the Broncos, you might have all these things going on, and you can catch all of them at Peckish in the DTC as well. Lunch specials start at $10. You can get pizza by the slice. Perfect place to go for lunch on a weekday, and a great place to go any evening you want to watch up any sports, or just get yourself some delicious wings and pizza. And we're so delighted to have to be part of it as well. So I'm looking forward to getting out there this weekend as well. Hopefully people come out and check everything out at number 38. Thanks to Daily Bailey producing it. Thanks to all of you who are watching it. Thanks, of course, to the hostess with the mostest right here out at number 38, Peyton Kraft, for joining us. Peyton, have a great show this weekend. Really appreciate it. Make sure you check out her videos that she has with Ben Finiseth and Alejandro Mata right here It's about all we can say about it. It's up to the bus now. They've got to go to Salt Lake City and knock off the Utah Utes to make sure that they can get themselves into a bowl. And if that's the case, hey, all systems go for this program. Tremendous opportunity. Nothing left to do but let them play the games. Oh, well, and I guess one other thing for Peyton Kraft, for Danny Bailey, for all of us at Mile High Sports, Sko Buffs.
Go Bucks.